Hi, my name's Dee and welcome to Sunchild Tarot. Now, welcome to my late reading for the solar eclipse at 0 degrees Cancer on the solstice, on the world point. Now, this is my third attempt at this reading. I will say I sat down for this reading before the eclipse, and after numerous obstacles I finally got going, and then 20 minutes into the recording the software just crashed and shut off, and I didn't want to do it again after that point because I was frustrated because it had been a really good introduction and I was very proud of myself, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. Yeah, stuff that for a game of darts. And then the next day was nearly coming into the eclipse, and I got Mercury retrograded again. Now, it sounds like an excuse. I don't normally get Mercury retrograded. It normally doesn't affect me, but oh yeah, no, it was the Friday I was trying to film the reading. Sorry. On the Thursday, somebody from the past who I hadn't spoken to in over a decade turned up. Friday was when all the technology shut down on me, and of course Saturday night, Sunday morning was the eclipse. And I will say, since I've been studying the astrology and becoming more sensitive to these energies, I hope it doesn't sound too pretentious to say that it knocked me off my feet. Now, I recognised the energy because I remember the eclipse from 1999, what year that was. Party, did we? And there was that same feeling in the air, which is the only time in my life where I had really paid any form of attention to eclipse energies, because I wasn't studying the astrology then. But it sent me into quite a period of, I'd like to say introspection, but I think that's over egging the pudding. It's more a time of just being. I was sat in my own company, and I can't say that I was necessarily oh no, the wrong way, that way. I can't say that I was necessarily thinking about anything per se. I was just pootling along with my astrology studies and being very quiet to myself. And it is the reason I've carried on. I left the cards on the table. The shuffle video that you should be seeing now, if I've got my timing right, that was Friday. Today is Wednesday. But this was a mega eclipse. Now, I've posted some of the astrology videos on YouTube on the Facebook page, link down below, quick plug, about the eclipse. I recommend that you certainly have a watch of them. Astrology with Heather was a good one, and the Astrology Hub, their Cosmic Connections show with Rick Levine. I mean, Rick Levine did his own shorter version about the eclipse, but his interview with Astrology Hub was superb and really went into detail with it. But we had Neptune stationary in Pisces, just coming off of the conjunction with Mars. It was the solstice. Venus was heading towards turning stationary. It was exact quincunx or inconjunct Saturn, which meant the energies that were coming out of the eclipse were not understood by Saturn and did not understand the influence of Saturn, did not understand those structures, rules, to a extent, that practicality. And hey, it was an eclipse, you know, with all of that. So you've got the solar eclipses tend to be more dramatic change, but they also tend to play out in the 6 months after. And we were setting the energy, or we still are, for the following 6 months up until the next solar eclipse is one cycle. The eclipse energies is most strongest, well, taking an average of what I've heard, 2 weeks before and 6 weeks after. But I've heard month before, month after, 2 months after, and setting the energies all the way till the next eclipse. And you can also say it was setting the energies for the whole year. from solstice to solstice. You can also note that it was the end of the solar eclipses on the Cancer Capricorn axis. I think the upcoming lunar eclipse is Cancer and Capricorn. That escapes me off the very top of my head. But there's also, it was all opposed to a certain extent by the Capricorn Brigade. So not hugely opposed. I mean, that's a huge orb, but the astrologers were saying that this is the most important astrological event of our lifetime. Now, that sounds like a lot of hype when you've heard me go on about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the Great Conjunction, the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, and the upcoming Jupiter and Pluto conjunction, and then the one after that towards the end of the year. But it's all because of them that this was the most important astrological event of our lifetime. Taken in isolation, yeah, it's an eclipse in Cancer, and wow, it's on the solstice point. But with that Saturn and Pluto conjunction, Jupiter-Pluto interplay that's going on at the moment, this is a really, really important one. And that's the end of my notes. I waxed lyrical for about 15 minutes on the last one. It's only the one reading because that's what I was impulsed to do. You know how I normally like to do 12 readings, one for each sign. But I think those eclipse energies were already coming on me. So let me get rid of that bit of paper. Let me change the cameras. I'll bring up the cards. If the computer will listen to me, there we go. So I can make that a little bit bigger, make it easier for you to see. There we go. So, really interesting oracle cards. True love, release, be bold and make the first move. Now, one thing I'd like to draw your attention to is we have two lots of tens here. We're on the back of this eclipse energies, we are building a firm foundation. That's what that King of Pentacles is telling me. We are building a firm foundation, but it's also telling me that things will be slow, and they need to be slow to be brought totally into balance. And that's what we are trying to do with these energies, bring things into balance. King of Pentacles with the Temperance. So I'm using the Tarot Apocalypsis and the Lost Tarot of Nostradamus, which is a great deck. It had some cards duplicated and some missing, but I don't know, I was okay with that. It felt right. It was 7, 8 and 9 of Swords, I think, that was missing. And the rest of the swords doubled, so but none of them turned up in here anyway. But with this 10 of Swords here, 10 of Wands here, we are bringing things to conclusion. We are building a foundation with which we can dream what we are going to build upon. 2 of Stars here, again, that sense of balance. Stars, I think, were Swords in this deck. But there's, again, that sense of fairness. There's that also that sense of getting two things to work in harmony with one another. So we're not even unifying a duality. We're not like bringing polar opposites together in one wonderful system. We're getting both polar opposites to face in the same direction and work on the same thing, a third thing, a different thing. A bit like that, the Kabbalistic Yod, Hey, Vow, Hey progression of Yod, that which is, Hey, that which is not, and the vow being the interplay between the two of them that creates motion. And it is up to us here to create the vow by bringing a lot of things up to completion. 10 of Swords, 10 of Wands. I do feel Prophetess, which is the 13 of Moons. So that would be the Queen of Cups. But there's what that's telling me is, I'm not even going to bother about the cups analogy. There is a chance to reach out into the future and pull it here with these energies if we are planning correctly. And to do that, we need to dream. We need to have the illumination that is given to us in so many different forms. And yes, take on the burden. Because we have Guardian Angel of Service, but also from the Greater King's deck, Person, the Prince of Sights. Things are coming to be revealed. They are coming to be revealed, and not everything is true, remember, Neptune in Pisces. But we can aim for a perception of unity, which here is qualified by, opposed by, sorry, by folly with Andrus. But I think a perception of unity, you perceive something, it makes it real. And yes, I'm mashing together loads of philosophies there. But your perceptions do shape how you view reality, or the reality that you experience. It's not the only factor. There's oodles of, I would disagree with, I mean, you've heard me use phrases about manifestation and what you feel within, you create. Yeah, you do. And you also do that unconsciously, and you also do that, excuse me, on a soul level. You do that according to soul contracts that you came in here with. There is the Gaia consciousness, there's the solar logos, there's all sorts of forces and identities that are creating just as much as you are. So the end result is still a real world that we have to deal with, and the bit that you can alter with your conscious mind is significant, but not all-encompassing. Not all-encompassing at all. And I feel like there is the Tower here. With the Empress, we are smashing structures down with these eclipse energies to gain wisdom. You notice there's a shaman holding that skull aloft on this particular tower, and the tower is burning, and let it burn, because of the wisdom that you will gain by either sifting through the wreckage or realizing that you need to build something new. Because this true love is very much a card about mirroring for me. Pretty obvious why. But there is ways that we can access that true love within ourselves. This is not for a partner, you know, not a true love for a Love Island romance that means you dance off into the sunset happily ever after. Although you may well dance off into the sunset happily ever after, but that is not what the purpose of these energies is about, because you are working, you are creating this happy ever after. These eclipse energies will be changing things to get forward motion that is intuitively led, but also led in a holy fashion. The Papess here, so even though it is the High Priestess, I am feeling that sense of the Hierophant with it all at the same time. So there is that element of expanding tradition to encompass the new world, the new way things are, and not just abolishing it, but creating a resurrection to head definitely to a whole new cycle, which is what this Seven of Moons here is telling me. It's not very Seven of Cups at all, but it does say that there are changing forces around that we're going to have to weather, especially with it being directly under the tower. But we simply have to map out. But we have to map out from the start. So if you are one of these people that didn't use the eclipse to envision what your future would be, because bear in mind, the eclipse can go, oh yeah, you're envisaging your future since it's a new moon. How cute. Now have this. You know, so there's, you have to be adjustable. And as the it has been a chance for rebirth from us. The Divine Solar Child Reborn from the Isis Oracle, which I think I'm going to read from the book. But from the Foxfire Oracle, I mean, loads jumped out, as you can see. But the most important one was be still a while. It's going to take, and this is why I don't mind that I'm doing this reading, what, 4 days after the eclipse. Be still a while. Let it take time to absorb the lessons of this eclipse, because they are going to be moving slowly. We are going to, once we start moving, we are going to encounter resistance, because we're going to need strength to move forward. But I've not seen an outside resistive force. So it's resistance from within ourselves, where we are forced to conjure up our own propulsion, our own way of moving forward. There's an element of have faith. You know, there's so I don't think whatever you were using that particular new moon to manifest, it's not going to come around like that, because there's too much crap to get rid of first. Release here, right after that Tower card. But be bold and make the first move. But that's after going through this whole process, after freeing yourself from any shackles. But bear in mind that certain shackles you placed around yourself were for you to learn what you could while shackled by them. And sometimes that the lesson is that you don't need to be shackled, or sometimes that lesson is what you are able to create, what you are able to do while in that shackled state. But I seem to remember there was a 6 of stars around here somewhere, but there we go, right in the middle, yes. Which is a beautiful, now 6 of Swords, as we know, it's going to a better place. Oh God, that sounds bad, doesn't it? But no, it's literally leaving where you are and going to the better place. But here, in this deck, it's signified by the dove returning to the ark with an olive branch in its teeth. So the olive branch, obviously peace, but the promise of a new land, the promise of a new and better way, but it's a burden. That promise is something, certainly under all the Capricorn energy, and remember everything's heading back to Capricorn at the moment. That promised new land is something that we're going to have to work for and work hard for, and that's good. That is really good. So as you're seeing structures dissolve around you, and maybe dissolving the odd structure yourself in the process, thank them and let them go. Release. Because that way lies abundance. It's almost like stubble burning. Burning down the forest, or burning down the stubble in a wheat field to energize the soil and let it grow back again in the following season. And remember, we are very much at the mercy of the seasons at the moment. This whole year has to complete. All the various astrology that's going on has to complete. And apparently it's only going to get crazier as a result of all the energies that we've had so far, and yet more that's coming. But there is a sense of resurrection that is coming for us. And potentially good news that is coming for us. So from the rest of the Foxfire, these cards jumped out. We have Fleeting Beauty, which I actually feel really positive about. It's almost saying, I haven't read the book on this one. It's a new Oracle deck, so I'm working totally intuitively. I have not read up on these ones beforehand. Fleeting Beauty is enjoy the moment while it lasts. So all the good bits, really treasure them. Really make the most out of them, because the awakening. Now, if you're watching my video, you're well aware of everyone talking about the Great Awakening coming up, that was, or the harvest, as was first mentioned in, well, I don't know if it was first mentioned, but as was mentioned in the Law of One by the channeled entity Ra. And there is certainly evidence, you just have to turn on the news, but not for too long, to see that there is a Great Awakening going on. And the Sentinel, it is our job to stand guard over this process. And I'm saying our job because you're watching a tarot reading on YouTube. You're the sort of person who, exactly, it's your job. You wouldn't be watching this stuff if you didn't have that call to duty within you, angel of service. But remember, be still a while, because Person Prince of Sight says not everything that we're seeing is real. I mean, again, Neptune in Pisces and now turning retrograde, so we get to go over everything and double check everything, and then it's got to go forward again. I won't be moving very far, but I think it's retrograde for a good chunk of the rest of the year. And my brain's just gone blank because I've just realised I didn't read out the symbols for the 0 degrees Cancer, which I will in a moment. But be still a while. Let the illusions fall. Let everything burn away, and remember what things look like when they're on fire and when they are burning down is a great deal different to what they'll look like the next day, and a great deal different to what they looked like when they was burning down. Before they burnt down. So there's 3 distinct stages: unburnt, burning, and burnt. 3 very different stages are to perceive, and take the beauty out of all of them and meld it together. Use all the forces, the unburnt, burning, and burnt. So let me just read out the degree for 0 degrees Cancer. Now, on the inside degrees, so I'm using 1st degree Cancer or Cancer 1, because 0 degrees Cancer all the way up to 0 degrees 59 minutes 59 seconds 0.99999 will be the 1st degree, is a potter at work. So carving out a sacred place for what you most care about to flourish, giving your all to a task or project, a way of life or shared stream. Socio-culturally gifted, selecting out what you feel pulled to cultivate and foster, and eliminating all other factors. You feel nurturing, sustaining, giving, but unwilling and unable to recognise and to come to terms with shadows and difficulties. So intent on creating a perfect world or vessel that you miss whatever you do not want to see, and that is a precarious edge to walk. Now, if that doesn't sum up a lot of what I just said, I last read that on Friday. But there is that element of, this is going to be work. This is a great undertaking to be sentinel to this great awakening. And yes, we are wanting to create a new world and eliminate what is not necessary. But on the same level, don't fall prey to cancel culture. Because certain things you can't cancel out of existence. You can't eliminate. You've got to learn to work with them rather than ignore them or work against them, and that's why you need to create that perception of unity, because there is one element with that perception of unity. We're not unified at all. We're certainly not unified in America. We're certainly not unified in Britain, with Brexit, and now with, as the Black Lives Matter protesters gone straight across the world. There's probably people in your life that you personally are not unified with. whatever that means. But we can create that perception of unity, that space where we are in agreement, that space where we can get along. And I'm talking to myself here as much as anybody, because the astrological energies at the moment, there is one, I forget which one, but there's one particular position or transit or aspect that was during the last year, during the American Civil War. And we have got those Civil War energies out there. And that particular transit is going to peak, I think, in this next week. When it was coming to Brexit and all sorts of things, I was all ready for fight, fight, fight. Because I'm right and they're wrong, which goes without saying. But remember that they think exactly the same, that they're right and we're wrong. So there has to be a middle ground, and there's times where I struggle to find it, and I'm looking forward to guidance popping into my head when I require it, because I'm going to need it. Right, let's have a look at this rising sun from... No, wrong book. Let's have a look here. From the Isis Oracle, that's it. So now this gives so much more promise, so much more. There is light at the end of this tunnel. And there is. 2021 astrology is a lot better than this year. And we've just got to make it through. So a dark phase and struggle is over. A new phase is upon you. One of hope, glory, light and triumph. It is won through boldness, persistence. Even when you felt like giving up, you chose to stay strong, to surrender to the divine and continue with the path. You have been through much, and now victory is upon you, beloved. For the divine solar child, a new consciousness within you is born. That gives me hope, because eclipses are never good, but there is nothing that is bad, which is two totally contradictory statements, but quite true. There's certainly in this context anyway, you know, you can turn around and say there are bad things. Yes, they are, but again, perspective. And if we are the people stood at that potter's wheel at the moment. We are we are this shaman stood in front of the burning tower, waiting for that divine wisdom to come in, waiting for that prophecy to enact. We are the ones who are gaining. I love the Ten of Swords in this Tarot Apocalypse, because it very much is, you have a guy on the battlefield, stabbed several times, but his spirit is rising up, and he is being guided to his reward by a Valkyrie. That's what's going on. There is that form of transmutation going on, but there is that form of nightmare beforehand. You don't get to have that breakthrough moment until you've had the crisis. There was another now the degree angel for 0 degrees Cancer is Luvia, who has the phrases associated with him, dialing God, expansive intelligence and fruition. So we are expanding our perceptions, definitely, which can help create that perception of unity when you're seeing a bigger picture. The dialing God, I love that. I love that image, dial 555 God. You know, and there is an opening with these eclipse energies, which, if you are sensitive to them, was so strong. Knocked me off my feet. And I'm only, most of the astrological, I've always been affected by the moon. The other astrological energies are far more subtle, and I'm only just learning to recognise. But no, this one was big and felt just like that summer in 1999. And looking back now, I think everything that happened the week of that eclipse, how did I not pay attention and notice the relationship between the eclipse and the events then? I don't know. But we can come through to a portal to get to our, I'll get to the right side in a moment, to get to the higher side of ourselves, our higher self, full stop. This, to me, is a reading of a lot of work, a lot of hardship, but all the way through, if we are maintaining for balance and standing guard over what we are creating, there is a beautiful promised end. Be bold and make the first move. Yes, start building, but start building once you know what is real, once you know what is true, once most of what has needs to burn down has burnt down. Don't start building now, it will catch fire from the other fires. But plan and keep planning, but keep adjusting those plans as your perception of the world changes. Now, like I said, there was one other symbol, right? There was an oracle image. The smoothness, now, where was it? The smoothness of a white wall invites illusion. Unmarred, it holds shadows up so that we may see them more clearly and allow them to live out their lives as they wax, wane and change shape in the changing light. Or rainbows may appear and slowly stretch out as they move over the white, becoming long like the tails of comets. The light gives us time to take in its colours, to see the seamless, imperceptible way they are born of each other, each one a fire, whose delight is to travel, searching for eyes. That is beautiful, and that's what we are seeing at the moment, and we have to allow that to play out. Allow the shadows to dance, to change, to grow. The shadows have a lot to offer us. Allow the rainbows to grow and grab their audience and permeate through. Whether we're talking about the rainbow wisdom of the 7 rays of evolutionary astrology, the 7 rays of the ascended masters, which I'm not sure whether they're the same things or not. I'll have to look that up. Or the weird media narratives that we've been having go on as well, you know. So there's sit in peace, plan to build. Don't make those plans too firm, because what's needed today is going to be different towards the end of the year. I mean, don't forget, we're just in a few days we're coming out of Venus retrograde. So during Venus retrograde, there is an alteration to those things that we value. And, you know, this is the time that they say, do not change your hairstyle. Do not dye your hair purple, because in 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, you're going to regret it. Do not make big purchases of a new sofa, because in 4 weeks' time, you're going to realise that sat in your living room, it's an eyesore. So what we value is very much under review. And now, well, Friday, I think. Now Venus is turning direct again. We will be revisiting all those things that we have been examining. And we'll just, do I still think that's naff, or do I really like it? Do I want to get rid of that? Now's the time that we can make those decisions. But again, wait until Venus is out of its shadow period before you take actions based on those decisions. And the same thing can be said about the plans of what to build. Now is the only thing that you should build right now is balance. And the requirements for that will change from day to day. So nothing that you build right now will be, ooh, this sounds a bit weird, but nothing that you build right now will be lasting. It's a make, do and mend. It's the emergency band-aids or temporary solutions that will be replaced by something better if you keep your eyes open, keep planning, keep preparing, but not actually doing until some of this storm is over. Okay, so I hope that makes sense for you. I hope that was good for you. I'll try and upload this evening. So, like I said, the late. I will be performing some more readings, hopefully doing some more filming today. All the details about the reading are in the description below. You can find ways to contact me below if you want a personal reading. And in the meantime, good luck everybody, and look before you leap. Cheers.